Good. Okay, so I'm representing one of the driver projects, the based at EMBL-EBI, the European Genome Phenome Archive, the European Variation Archive, and the European Nucleotide Archive. So I'm just going to give you a couple of examples of how we've sort of operationalized some of the APIs that have been developed over the last couple of years in the Global Alliance. Just a few kind of examples. So the EGA, what we do, we are an archive for sharing human genetic and phenotypic data that's being used for research. We've got several thousand studies and data sets. I just put a few examples here. Some of them are from very large consortia, some of them are from individual researchers. As part of our service, we have users that come along, they get the appropriate permissions to be able to download and access a data set from the local data access committee. But one of the things that we have to do is actually transfer the data, to serve it up to those users in a way that is using sort of community standards. So we have a variety of different protocols that we support for delivering data. You can see them all down on the right-hand side here. One of the most recent additions to our service is the HTS-GET API that Mike just described. And this really means that we can offer sort of, real-time, secure real-time streaming of data from the EGA. So, be it into whatever your favorite command line program is, without having to download the whole file. You can just request whatever region you're interested in. You can open up your favorite read viewer and connect it directly to the HTS-GET service at EGA. Or you can, if you're doing analysis in whatever cloud platform, you've got a consistent, publicly documented API for accessing your data. Okay, so in a recent collaboration with a European rare disease platform called RD Connect, this is a genome phenome analysis platform for rare disease that consolidates data from rare disease data from all over Europe, integrating omics data with various clinical information. So all of the raw data, so the bulk sort of, really large files, they're typically, genome sequencing data, that's all archived at the EGA. The variant data is stored at the on the RD Connect platform. But, one of the use cases is that, researchers, you find a particular rare variant, you want to be able to go and inspect the raw data that supports that variant. So recently we worked with RD Connect so that they've got this nice, I think it's an IGV read viewer that's integrated into their platform. And what that is doing is talking to EGA in real time to pull back the reads for a particular variant of interest for the user. So this is a really nice kind of operationalization and deployment of the HTS and GET protocol in sort of the real world. So another example, we've heard about the newest standard that's been adopted by the GA4GH called RefGet. I'm not going to go through the reasons behind it and what it does, but essentially it's for retrieving reference sequences. And we've been doing this for quite a while for the CRAM file format for storing bulk read data. It's an essential. You essentially can't use a CRAM file unless you have the corresponding reference sequence that was used to produce it. So we were very enthusiastic about this standard. I can say that now all of the publicly deposited sequences that have been deposited for the last 25 odd years from individual gene sequences, contigs, scaffolds, and all the way up to chromosomes and genomes, they're all now available from the ENA using this RefGet protocol. So I think this will become one of those kind of key foundational sort of standards that is just kind of fundamental to doing genomics and into the future. Okay, so another one of the standards that we're quite interested in from the EGA is the data use ontology. I mean, this is this idea of codifying the consent agreements that were signed by the participants of research studies. We're very keen on adopting this data use ontology. I mean, it means that a researcher that comes along to the EGA, they can quite quickly see what type of research they can carry out with a particular data set. So we've been collaborating with the Wellcome Sanger Institute to do some some kind of initial kind of pilots of getting some of the studies that are coming from the Sanger Institute and getting those data use ontology codes to be provided at submission time. And then you can see we've got we're planning to actually put these make them visible on the EGA website, so you can really quickly see what is the research you can do with this particular data set without having to, without having to go through a long discussion with the data access committee and then try to review, submitting, large documents and trying to review consent agreements to figure out, is your research compatible? But this should try to speed up that process in some ways. Okay, and then the final example. So we work quite closely with Elixir, which is an infrastructure for connecting different biomedical and bioscience resources across Europe. One of the key components for that is the Elixir authentication and authorization infrastructure. We are really keen on being able to support the idea of having sort of this bona fide researcher attribute attached to accounts that are in the Elixir AI, and then we're in the process of connecting the EGA account system to the Elixir AI system. This is in a kind of pilot phase. There's two scenarios that we're looking at, where a particular organization confirms the identity of a researcher. That's typically how controlled access is granted at the moment. But this sort of the idea is that we would be able to speed up this process without having to send bits of paper around and sending emails around. That if we can get this idea of a bona fide researcher added into the AI system, so it will try to automate this process. And the other scenario is where an existing bona fide researcher could vouch for another researcher. This would be completely up to the individual data access committee as to which of these modes they want to support. We have an early pilot of this that we've been working on with our colleagues in Elixir Finland. Where they've been showing that we can get this whole automation of this bona fide researcher to grant access to data sets working. There's a nice YouTube video. I'm not going to show it. Probably some of my colleagues will be disappointed, but it's a link to it there. And great. Any questions? Are we stopping for questions? No. Okay, we're not.
We line you up afterwards.
Okay.